Yeah, all right. Marty here again. Next Level Guitar, extravaganza.com. I like that. All right, so I've got kind of just a tasty little blues lick, but it's cool. You can do this in a more jazz setting. It's a real versatile little thing. So here is the lick. We're in E minor, but you can use it in, you know, E blues. Obviously, we can play it in any key we want, but I like to do E because you have to stretch your fingers a little bit to get the lick. So here's the concept. The first thing that we're going to start with, like I said, it's an E. The first thing we start with is an E, a set of E octaves, 2 E notes. And my pinky is going to be on the 12th fret, right there. And my first finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the G string. So those are both E notes. And that's called an octave because one's a lower E, one's the higher E. And they're a string apart. So that's the idea. So what you can do is sometimes, just depends on what mood I'm in, sometimes I'm, you know, my technique is that whenever I'm using my thumb or I start finger picking, and this is just my own thing that's evolved, you know, you shouldn't pay too much attention, but if it works for you, cool. I take the pick and I hold it like that, and then I use my thumb and middle finger mostly for the picking kind of stuff, and then it's right there ready to go. So sometimes I do this lick where I do that where I'm holding the pick. Other times so either one's gonna work for you. I'd say I'd probably use my fingers more on this lick because it's just got a cooler kind of, you can kind of spank it a little bit. So the basic concept of you know, of this little lick is that I'm playing a bunch of blues licks that is based off, you know, this 9th fret E note, 8th fret B string, 8th fret, with my first finger still like that. Then the 10th fret on that same string. And then you have the blues note a half step higher. And then the 12th fret of the B string. I'm just doing licks with those notes. Look at that again. But I'm doing, you know, some cool licks like yeah, and also you're gonna have to get your ring finger on the 12th fret of the G string for a part of it. So as I'm looking, I'm realizing that. So but I'm doing that lick the whole time with my pinky on the high root there. Now that's a really cool, you know, I don't know a lot about, I've taken some piano lessons, but piano players do this all the time where they're doing all these licks and the whole time their pinky is hitting the high root and they're doing all their stuff while that's in the same spot. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through a couple of ideas with it because you can totally improvise. It's really just like a little piece of a scale, but with that ringing out the whole time. So, you know, here we go. Let's just start with it. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play the octave. So I have my pinky on the 12th fret there, and my first finger on the 9th fret of the G string. And I'll use a pick because I'd say more people use a pick. So I'm going to strum down on that, and the B string's being muted by my first finger. That's it. First thing we do. Sorry. Okay, the next thing we do is I'm going to take my first finger and it's going to go to the 8th fret of the B string. So notice the stretch. That's a pretty big stretch on the fingers there. And when you get to that, you're only going to strum the B and E string like this. So here's the first two moves. Just take it one strum at a time. Here's the first one. Second one. Then I'm going to move my first finger up a whole step to the 10th fret, and I'm still only going to strum the B and high E string. Here's that move again. Check it out. So let's try that a little bit just over my little groove here. Do now is we've got this tasty little tasty zone right here, which is the 10th, 11th, and 12th on the B string, and that's just all the blues, little blues note stuff. Like you could go a hammer on pull off with my first finger on the 10th fret, hammer on pull off 11th fret with my middle finger. And then ring finger on the 12th fret of the G string. Watch this. Real slow. Watch that with my pinky on the high E. So now when my ring finger now, if I'm having to get that octave in there, it's not hard to do, don't concentrate too much, but the ring finger is just muting that B string there, and I'm just playing down. So that might be the trickiest part, but so watch that little lick I showed you. Here it is without my pinky there, just so you can see it. But that is open-ended for you know, improvising. And notice earlier I was kind of just, you know, doing a little strummy strum on that octave, which is great. Like, you can go all Jackson 5 with it. Or Car Wash. Now the other thing I like to do, and I'll just do it with one finger again. After I do the hammer on pull off on the 11th fret there with my first finger on the 10th fret, and then ring finger on the 12th fret of the G string, I like to go like this too. This is another option. Middle finger on the 11th fret hammered into the 12th fret. Mind you, when I do it alone, it's actually, they're great blues licks standalone. So at some point we'll focus on that little spot of the guitar because, you know, a lot of times, you know, a lot of people don't. I remember being kind of scared of the spot right below our favorite spot, not doing that a lot. And that's kind of where we are right now. And there's a lot of juicy flavor that you can squeeze out of that, all right? So here's the lick again, though. Middle finger on the 11th fret, hammered into the 12th. One more time. And, you know, some of the things I'm doing might not be as comfortable for you, but I think the idea of it, you can even come up with your own licks there.